Today, I'll be giving you guys 5 reasons why you never buy an 85-inch TV. Now, I'm well aware that people are still going to do exactly what they want to do, and this video isn't designed to really change anyone's mind. More so, it's just to kind of present a balanced argument to the "it's big, I want it" conversation. So, today, we're just going to be talking about the facts as they are, so if you're interested in this kind of thing, smack a like on this video, because we're getting to the point right now. Okay, so let's start off with reason number 1. Typically, these TVs are really big. I mean, that's why a lot of people like them, but that also acts as a double-edged sword in many cases, as you'll see throughout this video. One case is basically the overstimulation aspect. So because the TV is so big, if you misjudge your viewing distance, you're going to find yourself looking all throughout the full distance of the screen, moving from the center to the left, all the way to the right. I mean, it's going to get to the point where you're literally using your eyes to follow every simple motion of what's going on in that film. And depending on what's happening on the screen with explosions, and depending on how bright, how many nits your television is, you absolutely will end up fatiguing yourself. You have to be in the safe zone, which is 11 to 20 feet typically. And a lot of people get that wrong. Some people go into, really just not appropriate spaces for these kinds of TVs. They just throw it into any room and they don't really care. Some people will watch it at 6 feet away and say, whatever, it's an 85, you'll be more immersive that way, not realizing that there is definitely an overstimulation factor to it. Because with a typical TV, you never have to move your eyes across the full length and distance of the television. You just look in the center and you watch the TV. So when you're having to sit, imagine it like this. You're in the front row of a movie theater, the absolute front row. There's a reason people don't like the front row, and it's because, again, it's overstimulating. It's a lot of work, really, to sit there and have to move your eyes across the entire screen because you're too close. It makes you want to just take a step back and get a little further away to something that's more comfortable. And the 85-inch size has that effect. So that's something that you do have to be mindful of. Now, another reason why you wouldn't want to buy an 85-inch television is that it's basically massive image quality leads to a loss of image quality. And that's something called pixel degradation, right? And pixel density degradation is technically the term for it. But basically, it's the result of blowing up an image that you really don't want to be blowing up too far from the native resolution. I mean, what you're doing is essentially cropping in or zooming in on an image way too big. And this is why you can find things like a 65-inch being entirely sharper than an 85-inch. It's just because you're throwing away a ton of detail for absolutely no reason. Take, for example, if you watch a regular 1080p Blu-ray, or worse yet, you're watching over-the-air TV, which sees resolutions as low as 720p in some cases. I mean, really, you're going to find yourself not enjoying that experience at all and wondering what you're doing wrong, what TV is better for upscaling, and really, it's just a matter of you went too big. So I think a lot of people have these expectations like 85-inch will always be best for every situation no matter what because it's a movie theater size, but that's a double-edged sword and you have to go into it understanding as much. If you're not rocking 8K resolution, there really is no reason to be blowing up to billboard sizes like that. Unless, of course, it's just big and you want it. Now, moving on to the next reason why you'd never want to buy an 85-inch is because there is more screen to render. And this is an important thing that a lot of people don't really pay attention to. So because it's using more of a surface to render, there's more power required for this device. This is doing two things. It requires more power to run, so it's not as energy efficient as smaller TVs. That's a given, right? But also, depending on a couple of various aspects, it can lead to some problems. Typically, these larger screens, because they're covering so much space, they develop issues a lot faster than you'd find on a smaller LED television. And it's one of those things that people don't really think about, but I've seen it time and time again where 85-inch screens tend to fail, especially when you buy the Black Friday deals, right? The 85 inches for $1,000 deals, those crazy, ridiculous, unbelievably just bad deals. Now, of course, part of it is quality control, but the other part of it is, you're buying something that it requires really solid build quality. And in a lot of cases, 85 inches is just not ideal because when people find dead pixels, when people find uniformity issues that pop up out of nowhere, like a random LED spot or a random clouding spot, it happens more often than not on those larger screen sizes because you're just going too big. And that's just one of the things that people don't like to talk about when we talk about this. So you might be able to expect a premature failure, might not last as long, you know, things like that. So you have to keep that in mind, or at least in the back of your mind. Okay, so now another reason why you'd never want to buy a 85-inch television is you simply can't move it by yourself. So I know a lot of people feel like adults in a lot of situations when they buy these big TVs, and they feel like I'm the man of the house and I got a man's TV. But the impractical part is you might not always have somebody to help you out. You might not be able to call a buddy or lean on a relative or, you know, even a spouse. There are some cases where, you know, the universe happens and you're stuck moving an 85-inch TV by yourself. And in many cases, it's well over 100 pounds, and that weight is awkwardly placed. So what are you going to do, really? I mean, it makes something that could have been a very simple task a very difficult one, especially if there are stairs involved. And again, that means that it's not going anywhere. So that's another thing that people, again, don't really consider. Like, this is always going to be a team lift for the rest of its life. Like, you are never, ever lifting that 85-inch TV all by yourself. And yeah, that might sound like a small thing, but if you're somebody like me that likes to switch out TVs in your home fairly often to room to get a different feel, so you always have a fresh feeling, then it's definitely going to feel like you're kind of trapped and locked in, and it's just not a welcoming thing for me personally. I guess that's a personal thing, but I feel like I've seen that before from other people as well. Weight is definitely something to think about, even if you're not somebody like me that likes to rotate TVs out, because people have varying health issues as well, and again, it might not be conducive to one's health. You might pull a muscle or whatever the case may be. So another reason why 85 inches isn't all that glitters is gold kind of thing. And last but not least, it's unreasonably expensive. I don't care who you are, but you're going to be paying way too much for a TV because it's going to depreciate. The only thing essentially you're paying for is the size. Now, hear me out on this. Typically, because the screen is bigger, and we talked about some of the not benefits of it, right? The downsides, right? We kind of can see that you have no extra picture processing to accommodate for this. There hasn't been a single manufacturer to make up for the loss of the, you know, picture quality that you're going to see from blowing up to this big size. All you're doing is buying the same cheap-ass processor they're throwing into smaller sizes, you know, and you're buying at a more premium price for literally no reason. You're not getting an 85-inch processing chip designed for 85 inches. And I think that, you know, you just have to kind of get over the fact that it's going to be a cropped image and you're just going to lose a ton of detail, and it's the same processing chip as a smaller TV for no reason. And again, to reiterate that point, it just, at the end of the day, 85 inches is one of those things that's going to fatigue you. It's going to lead to some problems over the duration of time, or more prone to, you know, defects and things like that. You know, you're going to have a massive amount of image quality loss. You're going to be simply stuck moving it in a pair system where you always have to have a buddy lifting it. And again, you're not getting a special processing chipset to really give you the most out of that 85-inch screen size. And all of those things combined really means that you really shouldn't be buying an 85-inch TV ever. And that's why Quantum TV really never recommends it ever in the history of this channel, because I understand these things and I'm realistic about these things. And so I do what's best for, you know, not only myself, but for the people that are relying on me for information. Now, that doesn't mean that if you present, you know, 85 inches to me, that I won't help you out. But typically, rule of thumb is Quantum TV will never recommend an 85-inch TV until these problems are rectified 100%, because it just, consumer-wise, you know, price to value ratio and all that stuff, it just doesn't make sense. Now, many people will disagree because it's big, I want it, but at the end of the day, the sweet spot for a TV is 65 inches, 75 inches if you're really far away, but other than that, I really wouldn't be going any higher than that. That being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty. If you got questions, comments, or concerns, put them down below, and until the next video, I'll see you guys later.